Before we begin, I just want to say that, see my shadow. Is it over, oh, it's over here. I used the iPhone 4 last year for 7 months. So I am pretty well acquainted with the device, so I'm not just making this video out of random. I didn't just pick up an old iPhone 4 that I never used out from the shelf and been like, okay, I'll make a video on this and pretend like I know what I'm talking about. I kinda actually do know what I'm talking about, so let's start the video. Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Isaac, and today we're taking a look at the iPhone 4. Is it worth your time, money, and attention in 2018? Let's find out. The iPhone 4 launched alongside the iPod Nano 6, iPod Shuffle 4, and iPod Touch 4 in 2010, 8 years ago, which in the realm of things, tech-related, I guess, that is a long time. And so we're going to take a look at the OS, the performance in terms of everyday use in games, design, specs, I kind of lost count, that's sad, and the cameras, and the speakers, and pretty much anything you do on the device, we're going to test it out, except for phone calls. So let's start out with the specs. The iPhone 4 has half a gigabyte of RAM, an Apple A4 processor, a 5 megapixel rear camera, as well as a VGA front camera, and it also has a 1,400 and I think 20 milliamp hour battery. So that's that for the specs. I mean, on paper, it is not a power device. It's not going to be able to play the latest games at all. Like, that's like an eighth of the RAM of my phone right here, and definitely much slower. In fact, here is a chart of the speeds of today's iPhones compared to, and all the others, compared to the iPhone 4. So the iPhone 4 is pretty far behind as far as speeds and performance goes, but we're going to put that to the test later. But for now, let's move on to the design. So at the bottom of the device, we have a charger port as well as 2 bottom firing speakers. At the top, we have a headphone jack and a power button. On the left side, we have a mute switch and a volume up and down button. Both buttons are separate, they're not attached. Nothing on the right side of the device. And on the back we have glass, as well as the camera and a flash. On the front we have a 3.5-inch screen with a lower than HD resolution. I don't remember the exact specifications, I'll list it, as well as a non-touch ID home button that on a lot of models is probably broken or messed up. We have camera, a light sensor, as well as a speaker for making phone calls. The design is all glass, kind of like a glass sandwich, with a metal housing or casing around on the sides to protect against side or top or left or right impacts. Okay, so that's the design, and I would say it was a definite step up from the iPhone 3GS. It was radically different. If it wasn't for the chunky bezels and the fragile glass on the back, like my unit is like pretty much shattered, it wouldn't be that bad. Okay, so let's move on from there to, say, the cameras. Okay, so I have some pre-recorded footage, pictures and videos, I guess, that I'm going to show to you guys, and we'll compare them to my current phone, the LG G5, not because you guys are going to know what the camera performance is like compared to, of this phone, but more so that you could see the improvement over the years. So let's shoot some pictures and videos. This is a selfie video from the iPhone 4. So obviously the G5 does a much better job because it has had, well, this one's had 6 years of improvement over the iPhone 4, and there was a lot of exponential camera growth along the way. So it doesn't really match up fairly compared to the LG G5 or any of the other modern iPhones of today. Even footage from the iPhone 5S like puts it to shame, really. We have overall resolution improvement, we have better autofocusing, we have better, what do we have? Better colors, better, I don't know, it's just better, I guess. So we kind of went over, wait, no, we did go over camera design specs. Let's talk about the speakers. Okay, so we're going to test out the speakers of the iPhone 4 now, and this is a part of a different section, but we're going to blast the volume. Oh no, ads. So we're going to compare it to the LG G5, which doesn't have excellent speakers itself, but just so you can see how speakers have evolved over the years. So let's just see how it looks. It looks the same, it's just the tilt, guys, so don't worry about screen quality there. It's kind of hard for me to show the quality of the screen through something like this. So this is the iPhone 4 at max volume. Take a listen. So that's nice and dandy. Now we're going to take a look at the LG G5 max volume. Okay, so both of them at max volume are alright. So the speakers aren't the greatest, however there are two of them, so it makes it like 2 times better than the iPod Touch 4 speakers. And if the iPod Nano 6 had speakers, then I guess we could say that they'd probably be better too. And something else that you don't have on a lot of Apple devices is a headphone jack, so that's good that's there, you know. We can actually like plug things into it and don't have to use proprietary USB. Wait, I don't even know what they call it. And that's kind of another big thing about this device is when you go over to your friend's house, if they have an iPhone, you can't use their charger unless they also have an iPhone 4 because you got to be able to plug it in with that 30 pin. I know what that one's called, 30 pin connector. And that is a thick connector, like it's pretty big. And it's even on the older iPods, which is saying something. So when Apple tells you, oh, we had to remove the headphone jack for space, they're liars. I'll stop hating on Apple and the cut of the headphone jack, but needless to say, this phone has one feature that a lot of phones these days are going without. So we went over everything physical about the device. Now let's talk about something that's, wait, no, I guess everything about the device is physical, but let's talk about software. So the software, iOS 7.1.2, an older version of the OS, it is nothing to be like super proud of, I guess. At the time, that was the OS to have. Well, I don't know how, like, if it was better than Android at the time. I used to be an Apple fanboy, I knew nothing about Android, so I was super bummed about how I couldn't get it on my iPod 4, because that was what I had, and it was awesome. You had beautiful multitasking, you had swiping up from the bottom to get to all your stuff there. It was kind of actually more like Android than any OS before it. You finally had a lot of accessibilities that you never had then that Apple pretty much just threw in. I guess it was kind of a wake-up call for a lot of Android manufacturers. They really had to step up their software game. Some of them haven't, LG. Okay, so let's talk about the performance on iOS 7 with half a gig of RAM and Apple A4. Let's see how it all performs. I'm not going to drag it out too long. I'll give you guys a couple of basic scenarios, because if you're getting this phone and you're not using it for everyday tasks, I can guarantee it. Wait, no, I meant not more than everyday tasks, like playing a ton of games or social media. You're not going to use it for that. I don't think you are. Okay, so we are at the Notes app, and let's just type up something. So this is going to be testing some everyday performance. Maybe you want to make a grocery list, so let's write that down. Grocery list. And on the grocery list we'll have eggs, butter, tires, I don't know, maybe you'd like to eat tires, forks/spoons, maybe you're buying new silverware, I guess. And last but not least, no! I just want some Crave cereal. let's go to something that we don't use often. I did not type this, by the way. This is my little sister, because I know how to spell kind of. And what are some cities in Washington? So shout out to you if you live in Washington. Say it down below. That'd be kind of cool. And maybe if you live in Spokane, tell me how to say it, because I have no idea. Olympia, Bellevue, duh. Okay, so let's play a game or two. So, Geometry Dash. This is a pretty popular game, and at the time it was pretty popular too, and you can't get the latest update, unfortunately, for Geometry Dash on the iPhone 4, so I guess we're making do with what we have. Much better. Actually, hold on. Even better. So this is Geometry Dash on the iPhone 4, not too bad, and seeing as how we're on slower Wi-Fi and it's going to try to load ads in the background, it's not too shabby. And unfortunately I'm not going to beat this level, so my little sister can't say she beat it. So that's too bad, I'm just going to die. Oh, I think I beat her high score. Oh, never mind, good. With the stuff I showed you guys, you can kind of tell that really 2D games and, I guess, basic things you do on your phone is the max for it. The worst part about this phone is app selection. I'm not talking about Apple's built-in apps, because they are pretty good, especially for the time. They were great. However, the selection of apps on the App Store is super limited. Now, as I earlier mentioned, I used this device for 7 months last year, and a little bit in the year before that, so I guess that kind of combines to a little bit of 2016 and most of 2017. I used the iPhone 4, so I know a lot about it. I know how people can use it in a way that you may not think. So this device is worth it in 2018, and here's why. This is the phone to get away from phones. Now, there's obviously a market for, I don't want to be around my smartphone too much, but I want to stay connected, and that market, I think, has succeeded. But this is a device that most people wouldn't think can do that type of thing. You can get away from your phone by having a phone. Since you're so limited on the iPhone 4, it's not like any older version of Android. It's kind of like a BlackBerry almost in its own regards, because with an older device, you don't get that type of support, but you can still stay connected a little bit, unlike the BlackBerry. So even with a device like the iPhone 5S, you still get like tons of app support and the latest iOS version. This is the last one it's going to get though, but you still get a lot of that support. So with the iPhone 4, you get so little support that you can't do much on the phone anyways. So it's kind of more of a phone as it was meant to be in the first place, for calls. And then the cell phone as it was meant to be for calls and texts. And sure, you'll get laughed at probably. And once again, this is more of an iPhone 4 problem, because even older Android phones you can still use today, like the Galaxy S3. I know people that still use them and still get good use out of it. So it is a good idea, just a thought. So I guess if you're not really in the market for an older phone, it's not really worth it. Now, you may have limited money to spend on a phone. So if you have like $50 to $80, let me just suggest to you, do not buy an iPhone. If you want all of today's features, don't go buy an iPhone 4 at least for that low price. Instead, go for a cheaper budget Android phone. You'll get much more use and power out of that than you would, say, an older Apple flagship. So that's going to bring the end of the video, guys. Did you enjoy? Did you learn something new? Do you disagree with everything or anything that I've said? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.